Ladies and gentlemen, I am Solomon Powell, Inspector in the Department of Maritime Affairs, and I'll be the chairperson for today's ceremony. The application of IMO conventions to ensure the safety and security of shipping and the protection of the marine environment requires a great deal of knowledge and a particular skill set. As these cannot be obtained ordinarily, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the annual IMO Regional Workshop on Flag and Port State Inspections. I trust that we would use this opportunity to share and compare experiences and to gain as much as possible to improve ourselves as Flag and Port State Inspectors. Over the next 5 days, we have quite a demanding schedule, so without any further delay, I want to invite the members at the head table to welcome and address you before the start of the workshop. Over the years, IMO has sponsored and supported many workshops in St. Kitts and Nevis. In fact, the very first IMO Marine Accident Investigation course was initiated by our first speaker and convened right here in St. Kitts in 2007. I now call on the Director of Maritime Affairs, Mr. McLean Hobson, to officially welcome you.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, Solomon Powell. I am especially pleased to welcome all of you this morning, particularly those of you who are traveling from overseas. I trust that you didn't have too much trouble reaching St. Kitts and Nevis, and that you are settled and you're not only ready to contribute to the success of this workshop, but ready to take from this workshop the latest and most up-to-date information in the field of flag and port state inspection. Except for a very small percentage, most Caribbean states are flag states. By that I mean they operate a ship registry. While some countries operate an open ship registry, others such as St. Lucia and Grenada operate a closed registry. No matter what type of registry a country operates, the point is they are all flag state and is responsible for the safety of the ships on their registry in compliance with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. This responsibility goes a step further. In fact, it takes into consideration administrative, technical, and social issues of each ship on the register. In addition to the IMO, in addition to UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the International Maritime Organization would have adopted a number of international maritime conventions to do with the safety and security of shipping and the protection of the marine environment. And most of these conventions, you, in your capacity as flag and port state inspectors, are responsible for enforcing them. Some of them, we all must admit, is very technical in nature. And that is why I am particularly pleased with the work of IMO in the region to sustain workshops like these, where flag state inspectors can update their knowledge and share their experiences, and at the same time interact with port state inspectors who carry out a similar function, only that this function is carried out on foreign vessels. As flag state and port state inspectors, I want to take this opportunity this morning to implore you to give of your best. There will always be challenges. There will always be difficulties, but you must be determined not to lose sight of the qualities which makes for a competent, qualified, and resourceful flag and port state inspector. As indicated by our chairperson, you have quite a packed schedule, and I do hope while you are on St. Kitts, you would find the time to immerse yourself in our warm hospitality. Thank you very much.
IMO has been building capacity and providing technical support in relation to flag and port state inspectors for many years. Much of this work is facilitated by the IMO Regional Maritime Advisor. He's here with us today, and it gives me great pleasure to invite Mr. Colin Young, our IMO Regional Maritime Advisor, to make his remarks.
Minister of Public Infrastructure, Urban Development, Post and Transport, Director Maritime Affairs, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, a pleasant morning to you all. It is a privilege for me to deliver greetings and best wishes on behalf of Mr. Kaleem, Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, for the success of this regional workshop on flag and port state inspections, and to convey sincere thanks to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for its in-kind support to the region in hosting this workshop. The objective of the workshop is to update the knowledge of Caribbean flag and port state inspectors and senior maritime administration officials on the latest developments relating to ship inspections. The workshop is designed to facilitate the exchange of information between Caribbean flag and port state inspectors within and outside the Caribbean, as well as Caribbean administrations. The workshop will ensure that Caribbean flag and port state inspectors are in possession of the latest information on the requirements of IMO related to flag and port state and the latest developments worldwide. It is expected that this workshop will have a significant impact on the conduct of flag and port state inspections in the region. Distinguished participants, to this end, an invitation has been graciously accepted by the Caribbean Memorandum of Understanding on Port State Control to participate. Mrs. Jody Munbaro, Secretary General of the CIMU, will join us tomorrow to update you on matters related to port state control activities in the region. To deliver this workshop, we have secured the services of two highly experienced persons in the field of port and flag state inspections, Rear Admiral Lieutenant Ricardo Book, Port State Control Officer, Chilean Navy, and Mr. Luc van Osch, Netherlands Shipping Inspectorate, Caribbean Region. And I trust you will take this opportunity to tap into this excellent pool of knowledge that we have with us during this week. In closing, let me say, just add that there are some travel difficulties with Ricardo. So hopefully we are praying that he will be here tomorrow. He had 2 cancellations of his flights. So hopefully he should be here tomorrow. In closing, it is our belief that because of the international nature of the shipping industry, action to regulate and improve shipping operations would be more effective if carried out at an international level. Such an improvement cannot just be based on making more rules. More emphasis should rather be put on the importance of implementing existing rules. In that regard, the adoption of measures at IMO should be just the beginning of a process, not the end, because IMO measures are only worth anything if they are effectively and universally implemented. Distinguished participants, I would wish to encourage you on return to your capitals to urge your governments to implement the instruments to which they are party, so that you who function on the sharp end are fully supported in your roles. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Hosting of this workshop would not have been possible without the approval and support of the Minister of Transport. He has always kept a keen eye on maritime developments, having worked in the industry for several years. There is no better person to welcome and address us than the Honorable Ian Patches Libod. He was the first Director of Maritime Affairs here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and he is currently the Minister of Public Infrastructure, Post, Urban Development and Transport. I now invite Honorable Ian Patches Libod to bring the feature address.
I want to, first of all, welcome you to this federation of two islands. We do have one lovely paradise. In the process, I want to bid you a very pleasant morning as well. I greet our Director of Maritime Affairs, our IMO Regional Maritime Advisor, Colin Young. I understand that Mr. Luke Van Osh is here. Hope I got that pronunciation right. Workshop instructor. You, the distinguished delegates, also representatives of the media. When I came in this morning, the director introduced Colin as Colin Roach, and I was taken aback. I was wondering if there's another Roach following, because I recall way back then, Admiral Commander Roach, we used to call him. He really toiled hard and long to ensure that we had a Caribbean memorandum of understanding. I recall back then we had to impress upon the governments of the region that the importance of ensuring that we protect our environment, because there were so many substandard ships plying not just around the world but more so in our region. And Commander Roach eventually convinced the heads, and it was a decision coming out of the heads of government meeting. I don't remember the year, but all member states were mandated to establish a maritime administrations. In our case, I can't recall. It was difficult to convince our Minister of Finance back then that we just don't want to establish a department, but we must also put the necessary resources into the department. And at that first Estimates Committee meeting, all they allocated was a director. So the director must work on his own. Fortunately and unfortunately, at that time, it was me. No funds, but we had to implement so many things. But that's history, and that's not why you're here. But when I get opportunities like this one, I always reflect on the definition of shipping, which was stated in Alan Branch's book, The Principles of Shipping. And he defined shipping as the art of transporting goods and or services from an area of supply to an area of demand. So if, for example, here in St. Kitts, we didn't have the need to run our generators at the power plant on fuel oil or diesel, there would have been no need for us to have ships coming from Venezuela to discharge that commodity here. And without insulting your intelligence, your knowledge, I'm sure you would concur that over 90% of the world trade is carried by or within the international shipping industry. So without shipping, the import and export of goods on the scale that's relevant for the modern world to function, it just would not have been possible. Seaborne trade continues to expand, bringing benefits from across the world through low and at times decreasing freight costs. I would imagine that a lot depends on the cost of the fuel. But we must thank or say thanks to the growing efficiency of shipping as a mode of transport and increased economic liberalization. The prospects for the industry's further growth continues to look strong. Here in St. Kitts Nevis and in the wider Caribbean region, the economic growth and development can certainly be attributed to the ongoing role and contribution of the international shipping industry. In the process, the International Maritime Organization continues as well to play a very vital role. The IMO has adopted a comprehensive framework of detailed technical regulations in the form of international diplomatic conventions which govern the safety of ships and the protection of our marine environment. National governments which form the membership of IMO are required to implement and enforce these international rules, also to ensure that the ships which are registered under our national flags or their national flags, they do all comply. The principal responsibility for enforcing IMO regulations concerning ship safety and environmental protection rests with the flag states. However, flag state enforcement is supplemented by what is called port state control, where officials in any country which a ship visits, can inspect foreign flagships to ensure that they comply with international requirements. And I understand that we have representatives here from all around the region. And it is important to enforce the view that you, as port state and flag state control officers, you have the power to detain foreign ships in port if they do not conform to international requirements. But I also implore you that there are always letters to regulations and a spirit to regulations. As a consequence, most IMO regulations are enforced on a more or less global basis. As a result, it is therefore incumbent on flag and port states in the Caribbean to protect and safeguard this sector. International shipping, as you know, or as mentioned, has not only facilitated the increase of our cruise ship sector. If our wonderful region was not so appealing in particular seasons, we would not have so many cruise ship arrivals and so many cruise ship visitors. In our case here in St. Kitts, we anticipate in this cruise ship season alone, we will have 1.2 million passengers. And it's going to grow, I can assure you, as we do intend to build a new cruise ship pier starting anytime now. But it is also being responsible for the transport of bulk raw material, the import and export of affordable food, manufactured goods, and a myriad of other commodities necessary to support economic activities across the region. To date, it remains one of the safest, most environmentally friendly, and most efficiently run commercial forms of transport. No wonder international shipping is regarded as the economic lifeblood of the global economy. The value of international shipping to the socio-economic development of small island development states, such as the Caribbean, cannot therefore be overlooked. As we continue to sustain economic growth, IMO member states in the region must, in spite of the many technical difficulties and challenges in the implementation and application of IMO conventions, we must continue to do all in our powers to fulfill our obligations as responsible flag and port states. This includes the need to ensure that each regional member or each regional member state establishes well-developed maritime administrations and maritime authorities from which highly trained, qualified, skilled, and competent flag and port state inspectors can effectively implement and enforce the various IMO instruments to create a safe and secure marine environment, clean and free of pollutants. The duties of the flag state as provided by the United Nations Convention of the Law or on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, is quite clear and has put the onus squarely on flag states to exercise its jurisdiction and control over each ship on the register in administrative, technical, and social matters. It follows without saying, therefore, that as flag state inspectors, you have a responsibility to ensure compliance with the required national and international safety and security standards. In fact, it is your duty to take the necessary steps to ensure safety at sea. This, of course, involves taking measures with respect, though not exhaustive, to the construction, equipment, and seaworthiness of ships, the manning of ships, labor conditions, and the training of crews, taking into account the applicable international maritime instruments. As flag state inspectors, you are the watchdogs for the safety and security of international shipping, and you must remain vigilant in the protection of the marine environment in the Caribbean region. Your duties are multifaceted in nature and is also applicable to the crew of each ship on the register. In other words, it is your role to ensure that each ship is commanded by a master and officers who possess the appropriate qualifications, in particular the seamanship, navigation, communications, and marine engineering. You must also ensure that the crew possesses the appropriate qualifications, numbers of the type, size of machinery and equipment for each ship. With all the efforts of flag state implementation in the Caribbean, some flag states, as you can imagine, have failed in their responsibilities to ensure the safety and security of shipping and the protection of our marine environment. Where this is the case, port state inspectors have the responsibility to ensure that foreign vessels entering seaports across the Caribbean region are inspected in compliance with the relevant international maritime rules and regulations. The roles of both flag and port state inspectors is by no means an easy task. Thus, St. Kitts and Nevis remains fully supportive of this workshop and other fora sponsored by the IMO to serve as a platform where flag and port state inspectors can update their knowledge on the latest developments related to flag and port state worldwide, as intimated by the IMO regional advisor, exchange information on national flag and port state activities in the region, share information on the conduct of port state inspections in countries outside the region, and the list goes on. But St. Kitts and Nevis, I must reiterate, is also supportive not only of the role of the IMO, but more so of the role of the Caribbean Memorandum of Understanding on Port State Control, which since its inception in 1996 has made significant progress in building capacity on behalf of port state inspectors and creating the necessary legal frameworks for the elimination of substandard ships plying within the Caribbean. As you exchange, share, and learn new ideas over the next 5 days, it is my hope that you will not only make a better flag and ports, or you not only make better flag and port state inspectors, but you will be in a position to make a more substantial contribution to bring about a much safer and secure marine environment from which the trade of goods and other commodities will continue to result in increased economic growth and development across the Caribbean. Having whetted your appetite over the next few days, I do trust, first of all, you'll have a successful workshop. And remember, it is said that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So find some time to savor, drink some good Caribbean and Kittitian local whatever. And take some time to savor in our hospitality. Did you say rum? Yes. There's a good rum here. Take some time to savor in our hospitality. And with those few words, I want to declare this workshop officially open. And again, on behalf of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, welcome you to paradise. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Loibod, for your unwavering support for the maritime developments here in St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean, and for taking time from your busy schedule to bring the feature address and for declaring this workshop officially open. At this time, we have come to the end of this short opening ceremony. Thank you very much for your participation and your cooperation.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.